Now, we believe the key, absolute key to home energy management is going to be bidirectional EV charging. So when we can take advantage of that huge battery that you have parked in your garage, driveway, or parking lot 95% of the time to maximize energy efficiency and savings, we think we can take that 20% savings up to 30, 40, and even 50% and beyond, right?
Wow.
The,
So, as an example, with 2 electric vehicles and solar, if they're sitting there, you could take the power that's coming in from my solar during the day
right?
and pump some of that back into the house in the evening time when the vehicles aren't being used.
Absolutely, right? So, and even for the typical homer, let's say you're at work, right? And during those off-peak hours, and you come home at 5 o'clock, as you mentioned, 4 to 8 is typically peak hours. That's when your energy is 3 or 4 times more expensive. I come home from work, I plug in my car, we run your house off your car. You're doing your laundry, you're cooking, you're cleaning, all the lights, homework. You go to bed, prices drop. You mentioned energy even gets to negative in the middle of the night with wind, and we can fill your car back up. So you wake up in the morning, the car is full, and we ran your house during peak hours off your car. During off-peak hours, we filled your car back up. So we've shifted that energy consumption cost during those peak hours down by 75, 80%.
Now, what do you think your timeline is on the bidirectional charging?
Our goal is to have this on the market by the end of next year. And our timing is really based on both internal technology and development, but a lot of external factors, working with OEMs to really work on the communication between the charger and car, work on settings within our chargers so that we behave in a way that has very little impact on the car's battery. So the amount of power we're drawing, when we're drawing that power, the state of the battery tells us what we can and not should or should not draw. And so all of those things are happening in the background. We're going to submit for a UL process in the fourth quarter of this year, and then we'll be full swing certification next year with the goal of having this on the market at the end of next year.
This is pretty amazing because I deal with a lot of discussions like how do we store all this green energy? I've heard discussions about underground batteries, all kinds of other things. And here your idea is like, hey, you've already got 2 electric vehicles in the garage, for the people that do that have solar. And so now you're able to capture this and put it back in the house because the at-home battery options with solar is crazy expensive.
Crazy expensive. You're over $1,000 a kilowatt hour to install a stationary battery. And we have our own stationary battery product to market. We do think it plays a role in certain places. But to install our bidirectional charger and tap into your car battery, it's going to go from $1,000 a kilowatt hour to $50 a kilowatt hour. It's a complete game changer economically when you think about the value of distributed renewable generation and being able to store and use your own production. Economically, it's a real game changer.
I was going to say the car battery is going to go from lithium. People always talk, oh, lithium catches on fire. We're going to go to solid state batteries that don't use lithium in the next few years. How quickly they're adopted, is kind of the big thing. But your technology is going to adopt with that. So people are simply going to have a higher energy battery. Eventually, we're going to have 1,000-mile ranges on the cars. And so you're going to have these big batteries sitting out in the garage that are going to be able to use your bidirectional charging. That's really a fascinating concept. And this is the first discussion I've had on this tech. I've had all kinds of people tell me about their different technology, different things. I really like this one because you're using something that's there and people aren't necessarily going to have to go get something extra, like the battery to make solar work more effectively.
And there's also another concern and problem out there is all the electric vehicles that are going to be added to the grid are going to increase the size of the grid 20, 30% and beyond. And when you think about the last 25, 30 years, the grid has not grown. Yes, population's grown, but energy efficiency appliances, LED lighting, and the not have offset that growth. So our grid has been pretty stable for a few decades. Now all of a sudden it's going to grow 30% a year. And that's going to put a lot of pressure on an aging grid. And how are we going to actually service all of these EVs? And it's your point and that point bring together is renewable distributed generation along with new technology like what Emporia is building, will actually solve both problems, right? It'll allow us to store that excess energy and feed them to these cars in a timely, balanced way so that the new sustainable grid will work.
Last week, I did an interview with Mike Herzog, who's an expert for power companies, electrical engineer, that goes out and helps them with some of what we're talking about. And he said one of the big issues is for 100 plus years, there's been power coming one direction. Okay, so all these systems out there taking power one direction. And now that we have all this solar, other things that people are their own power generators, then they're pumping it the other way. And one of the things I told you about some of the companies I'm involved in, we've been looking at eventually everybody's going to need their own personal grid. And you've actually got the best solution I've seen for personal grid. I'll give you a #1 vote. It's really amazing what you're doing there. And that's going to make the whole personal grid concept much smoother, I think.
Hi, I'm David with EV World News. If you like this video, then please press the like button. If you like the content and would like to see more videos on electric vehicles, then please hit the subscribe button. If you have some feedback for us, please let us know in the comments. Have a great day.